General Mkhwanazi reveals the crazy first meeting with Kat Matlala. What really happened the first time General Mkhwanazi came face-to-face with controversial businessman Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. Before we continue, please kindly subscribe, like, and comment your opinion below. In a stunning account, Mkhwanazi takes us back to that first encounter, and the story is anything but ordinary. According to the general, the meeting immediately raised questions about who Matlala really was, how he operated, and the kind of connections surrounding him. But what makes this story so shocking is what happened next.
Sinona comes to me and he says to me, General, there's a case open against my team. Remember, it's his team. It is DPCI's team. He said, there's a case open in Joburg against my team. And the case is opened by Nangi and the people that are with him. And I took note. I said, oh, well, what is the case about? He said, no, torture and all those things. And I said, but was he tortured? Were they tortured, these people? And he said to me, no, they were tortured in Mozambique. This guy, when he was arrested in Mozambique, was tortured and so forth. But Sinona sounded like he was not even part of the team. When the team was doing all this movement, he was not there. But I know today he's also facing a disciplinary case. I don't know why is he facing a disciplinary case, but I'm not part of it. But he tells me this thing. He said, there's a case open in Joburg. Unfortunately, you, Jerome Mkhwanazi, you are one of the accused in the case. So I asked him, why am I accused on a case that I don't know? He said, no, they're alleging that you were part of this. So I just laughed it off. I said, it's one of many other cases that will be thrown on me. Maybe someone influenced that. I'm not going, well, I guess if it's there involving the police, IP will investigate like many other cases. So we end there with Sinona. Few weeks later, Sinona speaks to me again, face to face, and he says to me, General, I found someone to help withdraw the case against my team. So then I asked, but when you say you found someone to help withdraw the case, how is this person withdrawing the case? He said, no, this person spoke to one of the complainants. So I asked, who is this person? And he said, Vusimuzi Matlala. Now I already know the name Kat. And I said, but okay, you said you found him. How did you find him? So no, I was with him in Gauteng. And I told him that there is a Nangi guy that is opening a case against my team. And Kat took the phone, he called Nangi. This is what Sinona tells me. That Kat took the phone and he calls Nangi. And he told Nangi that, hey, don't get involved in this case. Why did you open a case? And Nangi said to him, it is Jarasbia that influenced him to open a case. But otherwise, he's no longer going to participate. Now, IP must come and explain. Since the case was registered, a year later, nobody's ever come to me. What is happening on the case? Could it be that the main complainant on the case did not want to cooperate anymore with the investigation? If that's the case, he's going to check out on what Sinona told me that he was told by Kat. Because that means Kat influenced that Nangi not to participate in the case at the time. I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect Nangi is the main complainant. Perhaps that's why Mlotha was brought by Adams here to become a complainant on a similar case here in Cape Town. But I'm not on that. I'm just saying that's how the Nangi name came into the picture. It is Kat that tells, it is Sinona that talks to Kat about Nangi to drop the charge. So that's what got me more interested to ask more about the relationship between Sinona and this Kat guy. So when I asked him, I said, but you wanted to resign to join his company, and now you are telling me that he's helping you to stop the investigation. How do you know this guy? Then Sinona says, we grew up together. We were playing soccer together. Then I remember I said, but you said Kat stays in Mamelodi and you are from Social Move. How did you grow up together? This township are far apart. He said, no, we're playing soccer together. That's how we know each other. Remember the time, I don't know the age of Kat. I don't even know how old he is. He's just telling me about they grew up together and that's how they got to know each other. So I had no reason not to believe him. So I said, so he's your brother, eh? Is that close to you? He said, no, he's my brother. Then I started saying to him, but there's investigation happening in Gauteng where this Kat is got issues that are questionable about him. So you sure you're not part of the wrong? He said, no. Kat is, I know him as a clean guy, he's my brother. Even if you check the phone communication between me and him, we are brothers. So I had no reason not to believe the head of the Hawks in KZN when he tells me this, that Kat is just a brother. I finished the conversation, I talked to Kumala, I said, Sinona He has this close relationship with Cat. Maybe when we check the downloads of Cat, we must run the Snona's phone and see if there's any communication between them. So that's how the extract of the communication and relationship between Cat and Snona was discovered, because it's Snona that disclosed the relationship between him and Cat. Fast forward from there, Snona comes to me and he says, "Hey, you remember the guy I told you about, Cat Matlala?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That guy's got a contract in the police of health contract. But he's struggling because police are not placing orders. Now he wants to reach out to talk to the end user, which is Jaron Hua. And when they establish the people that can link him with Jaron Hua, they discover that you're the one of our entire management of the SAPS, you're the one that is closest to Jaron Hua. Can you arrange a meeting?" So now I said to Snona, "But why must I arrange a meeting for Cat Matlala and Jaron Hua? For what reason?" And he says, "No, but looks like Cat has an information that can assist Khumalo and the team with their investigation in Gauteng." So that what drew my attention, and I said, "But he's got information. What information?" He said, "No, the role that's be a place in this whole criminality happening in Gauteng." So that got me excited, and I said, "Okay, well, we'll confirm the meeting." From there, I then contacted Jaro Khumalo. I said, "Jaro Khumalo, this is what I'm aware of. Must we have this meeting?" So we agreed, "No, let's have the meeting, but let's control the venue where the meeting is. And let's wire the place so that you can record everything happening in the meeting. Hence the flat. That we have to discard, get a flat, a place where we can go in, nobody can trace us. Anything happening there can be on record." I was hoping the day that Cat is going to say he gave me money, because I was going to come and show you that there was never anything handed. I'm glad he didn't, because there was nothing. So the meeting then is arranged, and I go back to Snona. I said, "Tell him to come." Then Jaro Snona invite him to come. And I said to Snona, "I know this guy moves around with bodyguards. When he comes to see me, he must be alone, and you, just the two of you, nobody else. So you're going to pick him up, or you pick him up, you're going to bring him to me." Then he said, "Okay, we're going to meet at Mhlanga. The meeting is going to be around Mhlanga." They met at the hotel. Mr. Adams is not here. I'm sure he's watching at home. Oyster Box. Oyster Box is a very expensive hotel in Durban. That is where they met, Cat and Snona. Whether inside the hotel or at the parking, I was not there, but they met at the hotel. Because after that, Snona, first time I saw Snona driving a Polo car. You know, this one is driven by these Uber boys, the small car, VW. Snona was driving that car. He called.
The general's recollection paints a picture of an encounter that would later become significant amid the explosive allegations and investigations surrounding Matlala and senior figures within South Africa's security and political landscape. Was this first meeting simply a coincidence, or was there already something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Mkhwanazi's story has left many asking one question: who really is Cat Matlala, and what did the general see that day? Stay tuned, because this story gets even deeper.
Told me, he said, "I'm with Cat. We are driving this Polo. We are getting out of Oyster Box." So I said, "Okay, come up, because I'm in the vicinity." He gave me a description of the car. I spotted the car. Then I said, "Okay, I see I'm driving this car in front of you, the Mercedes Benz. Can you see it?" He said, "Yeah, no, we can see it." I said, "Okay, follow me." So I drove them down towards Pavilion, Beverly Hills Hotel, around into Pels. There's a parking at the bottom there for those that knows Mhlanga, towards the beach. So we enter in there, into the boom gate. I show my face, the boom gate opens. I go in, I tell the security to open for him. They open for them, and they followed me. Some 50 meters we park, we walk, we get out of the cars, we walk into the lift, into your apartment. Honorable Chair, that apartment from where we seated in a 3-seater dining room table, a glass table, can only sit 3 people. Where I'm sitting, at least a meter, is the wall. Behind me, a meter, it's another wall. On this side, it's a lounge that will be at least maybe about where Honorable Skosana is seated. That's where the TV is. And on that corner, on that side, which is a good 4 meters or so, is an entrance into the apartment. And on my right, open plan, Honorable Chair, up to where the podium is, which roughly about 4 meters or so, is the sink, the end of the kitchen. So for Snona to say he was busy drinking somewhere, he couldn't hear anything. When we are here, you're talking, a person on TV, a person here can hear everything. It's just the three of us, nobody else there. So we said, we spoke. That's when he then gave me this information. The information is about Steve Mutsume. Steve Mutsume is a name that the 68 million people, excluding the independent podcasters, they are the ones that got guts to talk about Steve Mutsume. The rest of media houses in South Africa don't want to research about that person. It's a name that has come out so many times, Steve Mutsume. He told me about Steve Mutsume. He gave me the address of the house of Steve Mutsume. He told me about activities of Spear, how the Spear is collecting money. He told me about the property of Spear that I didn't know. He gave me the address. He told me about the Impalas he bought for Spear. This is all coming from CAD voluntarily. I don't have a clue about all these things. The properties in a townhouse in Sentin. So I take note of all these things. And then he asked one thing, but the other one was just a comment which we couldn't do much about it. The first one was, I've got this contract. I've got so many people that I should be paying that I haven't paid, but the police not placing an order. Can you get General Mkhwanazi to meet up with me so we can discuss and get to hear what is the issue? Then I said, well, I'll talk to General Mkhwanazi, but I don't know anything about the contract, but I'll talk to her. The feedback will come to Snon. That is one. Two, what is the next thing? The next thing is that I hear that there's investigation in Gauteng on an attempted murder of his ex-girlfriend. What is happening on that? I said, no, don't ask me that question. I'm not in Gauteng, I'm here. I can't even answer any question. If you have issues with it, Gerald Snona is your brother, must talk to Gerald Commando and establish what is the issue there. That's how the meeting ended. We left. After leaving, I pick up the phone, I call Gerald Commando. I said, Gerald Commando, this is information. Here's the address of Mr. Mutsume. Mr. Mutsume he has got a house, standalone house somewhere in Sentin. I just don't know the address now which I can say, but from the American High Commission in Sentin, for those that know Sentin, if we drive down towards the western side, but we go down the road, Steve Mutsume's house is there. The one that he alleges to be Steve Mutsume. It's a very big house. It's there, because I saw it on Google. He came in and said, that's a house where Spear collects money. Because I was not satisfied with the information about Spear, he says Spear collects money there, but using the police vehicle and the police driver. And mine to him was, Spear cannot be arrested then, because when you arrest him, he's going to say the money belongs to a driver, not to him. But if he uses a police car to go there, we'll be able to get that on investigation. We need more information about Spear. He said, no, he paid 2 million rand towards his plot. He bought him Impalas. All the Impala stories came with me, but nobody asked, how do I come up with Impala stories? It's because of that meeting. When I spoke about these Impalas, I just did not elaborate where I got the stories of the Impalas in details. But the Impalas come with Cat. The townhouse. Cat says he didn't even know about the townhouse himself. But another foreigner told him about the townhouse. He went to see the townhouse. He saw Spear's cars there. He confirmed, but Cat did not know about the townhouse. So he told me all these stories about Spear, Steve Mutsume, and that fact that Steve Mutsume's property is at Waterfall Estate in Midrand. I've never been to Waterfall Estate.
Mr. Mutsume, is he also alleged to be one of the Big Five?
I had said, Honorable Chair, with respect, Councillor, as a legal person, you'll know that we cannot, as police, pronounce of people that are not before court. But it's a character that the police officers are afraid to even call his name. It's a character that even the judge at the Matlala Commission was concerned about the police being so afraid. It's a person that I spoke this morning to Sergeant Kosi, who was sending the communication between me and him to the very same person. So Steve Mutsume is such a character. I'll leave it there. I don't want to go into details. You can read between the lines.